Okay. Good morning, everyone. Hope I'm well. My voice is clear, and also my screen is visible. Right? If everything is perfect and we can continue. Okay. So the topic is about life. Access control list. So you can teach everything what we will be able to get in the network. Okay, snippets where you would able to filter the packet. Okay, it's access list. Just a minute. Is it fine now? Is it visible? Sorry, it's audible. Okay. Is my screen visible? What? Okay, okay, fine. Uh, Access control list is something security what we will be having in network layer based on the IP information. We would able to take some filtering capability. We can you can allow some traffic, we can deny some traffic, we can inspect the traffic. Okay, so all such thing you can do. But the next part here is the one of the key point of your network layer is what you call routing. Because if you don't have this routing part, probably there will be no something called internetworking. Okay, so where dynamically we can collect the information about the network, remote network. Okay, so if you collect them so that your network could able to communicate with that network. Okay, if you don't have that route, something whenever you're putting your a letter to a friend, what you should know the address of your friend, right? If you don't know the address of your friend, then how you could post your letter, right? Is something what your router will going to learn about the destination network or your friend network address and the path. Then if they know the path from your network to your friend network, probably what the packet could be sent to the friend network. Otherwise, there will be no something called transferring internet working. Okay, so here we are mainly highlighting some of the forwarding techniques. Forwarding technique is what how your packet could be sent from your network to the friend network or destination network. So the process we call them as forwarding. Okay, some technique we use in order to process that packet. The way that we process we call as forwarding methods or forwarding techniques. The complete process of taking your packet from your network, from the host, from the physical of your host to the host which you like to send, the destination host, is what you call it as routing. From the device, from the source to destination is what we call it as routing. How a packet has been traveled and it will be sent to and reach the destination is called routing. Forwarding is what the intermediate network might use some process of forwarding these packets to the next the next op. So the forwarding of packet from an op to op or sending of packet from an op to op, we call them as forwarding. It has some methods. Delivery is delivery is something how a device could handle this packet. A network layer can handle this packet from their underlying physical network. Okay, physical layer we call them as delivery. Okay, so there are three process where they were slightly different. I'm not saying it has much differences you to understand what these three words are. Okay, so they are same, but they are slightly different from one another. Delivery is something I could say them. Network layer supervises the handling of packet by the underlying physical network. Is what means to say that as delivery. Whenever you placed an order in Flipkart or Amazon, something they deliver a product, right? Taking a product from the distributor to you is something what is called forwarding of that product to the end to you, reaching of that. Delivery is something from an e-cart to a near area, taking that product and taking that to delivery. This process like which the product has traveled from the distributor hub to you. So whenever you tracking something, your product what you placed, you know that, right? Your product has dispatched, it is something shipped, then later it is out from the main hub, source hub, then it will something it reached your endpoint. So and from there you'll get a message tomorrow that your product has been out of delivery to you, means that day you will get the product. So the end what we see, the network layer which handling of delivering of, or what I say, handling of packets from the underlying physical network. Underlying physical network is what here means, from your delivery boy to you is what the real delivery, right? This is something a process of forwarding. Okay, making that product, whom that the product will be there, from there to reach where, to the end point. From the end there is something called delivery. So this is what we call delivery. This is what we say as forwarding. Okay, from the complete, from end to end, from the distributor to the product who will be manufactured, and to the product who will be consuming something, you can assume it as routing. So that is what these three words I'm just saying here. Okay, routing is an end to end from source to destination. The in middle, what the process will takes to forward them is what called forwarding. And the last point, okay, from the point, a router or in that network layer, how that going to be sent, delivered that package to the host or a destination is what you call delivery. So in delivery, there are two types. So means that a forward, like direct delivery and indirect delivery. I think you would understand directly what that it exactly means. So direct delivery, so whenever your host, your source and the destination, they were in the same network. So that type of delivery we call them as direct delivery. Or we have another one, when any router, as they are delivering a package to an host, which is also called as direct delivery. Indirect delivery, when that indirect delivery will takes place, when a source and a destination they were in different network, the process of that delivery mechanism we called indirect, means from that distributed hub to a next hub, from that next hub to next hub, then next point to next point, like that it will keeps delivered. Okay, at the last end what that the user consumer will receive that product is what indirect. It is not direct from the distributor, it is something in between third party or a service provider, delivery service provider, they will give you that product to you. That is an indirect delivery. But what you could see here, the end point from the router to a host is actually what you call direct delivery. As a packet received by that e-cart, something they will directly come and deliver to you. They will not going to give them to any other uh, outsourcing delivery logistic. Okay. This is what you call indirect. The whole, if you see from the source point of source to a destination is indirect. From the point of router, and if you see which is delivering to a host is something what direct. Okay, so there were two kinds of delivery mechanism. So which we have, one thing is direct and indirect. Quite much not required from the theory point of view. We should need one. But when it comes to real network, when you are work, I think this concept will never use and will not understand by this concept. Okay, just you understand what you mean by delivery and what is called direct and indirect delivery. Okay, so then there is something called forwarding. So forwarding means the place the packet in the route. Okay, the path when a packet is in the route. Okay, to its destination, the forwarding requires either a router or a host to have a routing table, and the host as a packet it will send, or a router as it receives a packet from the any host, the packet to be forwarded, it looks its table and it will find the route to the final destination. Forwarding is a process. It's simple, it's just a process. As every packet is received by a host, sent by a host, or it is received by a router, it's going to check its routing table, and if there is an entry in that table, then it will simply forward it that to an outgoing interface. So this process is what we say as forwarding. So there are different techniques we used, what is called forwarding techniques, and the process what I said we call them as forwarding process. And there is a table will be maintained by each of these devices for forwarding, which we call them as routing table. Okay, and this process is going to be happened independently at the each intermediate device that what the packet will be reached. Means if we say if that packet is received by this router, so it will go with the same process, and as they go to the next router, again it will go with the same process. Okay, this process we mean to say that as forwarding process. There are some techniques we use to forward the packet. That is what we call forwarding technique. We will look at that later. You just next slides. What is forwarding techniques that we have? Okay. So in earlier something we might be using what is called process-based forwarding. What do you mean by process-based forwarding means? I just told you this is a process. So what this sentence defines is what the process. If every packet inspects like comes to this router, it will take this is a packet. Okay, let us say this is an IP packet. As it comes to an your router, it will take a destination address and it will compare with this and with subnet mask, and it will compare, check that routing lookup. This is a routing table, and if there is an entry and there is something outgoing interface, so then that packet will be sent in an outgoing interface. If there is an entry, it will check the next stop address and that packet will be sent to the next stop address. So this is what going to be the process of forwarding by every device. And this process is default for every a new packet which comes to this router. Every new packet, what it may comes, even though they are coming from the same network, it has to go with the same process again and again and again and again. Something you can check, you can see here by looking at this process itself, since all packet were going to a same network, but my router doing the same job for every packet. Okay, do you think the packet will be sent like number of hundreds, thousand? No, the packet will send something like in the terms of 1 lakh, 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, and doing the same job, because we already know to whom, like to what is an outgoing interface for from the first packet itself. And doing that, it's something where I'm consuming my resource, as well as it's something lot of time would be consumed for time look like routing lookup. This is a software lookup to check this, and if your table is big, like very big, something it consumes much time to forward that packet. Okay, so what we do, instead of doing the process based forwarding means every packet which comes to this device, it has to go with the default process. It's a complete process. So what we do, so as the first packet go with this process forwarding, the every next packet will not go into the going with the same default process forwarding. Instead, so we're gonna cache this information in by device. We're gonna cache that information. If any packet comes to this destination, we will be the outgoing interface. Something we will doing what is called fast forwarding. What is this? We do something called fast forwarding. So the subsequent packets need not to go with a routing lookup. Instead, whatever the information I cached, with that itself, I can directly know what is my outgoing interface. It will not going to look at the whole entry. Instead, I will be having one entry in my cache memory. So every subsequent packet, if that is having a destination address is this, so I blindly put that packet into an outgoing interface what I have in my cache memory. Okay, so that is how we do. Okay, so later on, what we saw, even a fast forwarding is something quite delayed. So we do something called express forwarding. Express forwarding. So what is a one technique what used by your Cisco, and they call that protocol is called as CEF, Cisco Express Forwarding. Cisco Express Forwarding means, so instead of go for a software lookup, so all this information what that router will be having that in the routing table, we gonna install all this routing information in the hardware itself. So whenever any packet comes, so it will check in that hardware and it will directly send to with an outgoing interface. where with this technique, where we were able to get a wide speed of packet forwarding compared to the last three, what two we have something for process forwarding or fast forwarding technique. Okay, so what it means, the each hardware will used to have something called two tables. One is called forward information base table, and another one is adjacency table. In this forward information base table, it's used to keep the information about the destination network, and the adjacency table it used to keep something what is called the outgoing interface. So as a packet comes, it will check its information through in hardware, and it will simply forward that into an outgoing interface. So with this, I would able to get a wired speed of forwarding of packet from any, it comes to any one of this device. Okay, so this is what something we were using in today's, or what the traditional network we are using. Every devices what we'll be having in your network, they have each independent network operating system, and they are implemented with their own set of protocols. Okay, probably all of the devices may not be same. If they are same, something is good, but we all the like devices may not be the same, because probably in some vendor may not provide what the user might require. So in that time we supposed to purchase that from the other vendors what they might provide. Okay, we have something switches from Cisco, some switches from Brocade, some switches routers from HP, Aruba, Junipers, like that. So in order to have interoperability, because so Cisco may have their own proprietary protocols, and if you use them on any other devices, probably that may not work. So then you're supposed to have a open standard protocols to work on both of them. So in order to overcome this, what we do today now is what is called SDN. Okay, SDN is something software defined networking, where there will be no intelligence or controllability on the each device. So we'll take the controllability of each devices, and we put them into one central node. We call them as network controller. Okay, this devices now, the switches all are whatever we have, which is deployed on every location, is just like an forwarder. They are the only one what it can do, this forwarding of packet. But the controlling is only thing is at the network controller. If any packet comes to the switch, it doesn't have controllability now. It will ask the controller where I should send this, what is my outgoing port I should send this packet. So the controller will have all such information. So you're gonna send them a response saying that at the port 2 you should send this packet. So it will blindly gonna put that packet, every packet on the port 2. Something like we have a centralized network, where through a software you could able to control, manage the whole network infrastructure now. So this architecture we call them as SDN architecture, software defined networking. That is what the future, you could see them in every network. Okay, so they don't want to visit each and every location. If something is happened to any device, if they are hardware failure or any physical problem, they might be visit. Other than that, everything they can control from the one central point. Okay, so that is what this network controller mainly does. If you want to deploy something configuration of any device, we can sitting here itself, we can do everything, because all of these devices are now interconnected with something called APIs, application program interface, where each, like we do something called the separation of control plane and a data plane. So what do you mean by data plane here? Where in the last time, where these two planes were there in the each devices, means it should check its table, and it's also control whether what is my outgoing interface, everything will be done, taken by the independent, like individual devices itself. Now it is something, everything is taken by your network controller. Okay, this is what the controlling plane, and what the data will be forwarded by each devices are what you call data plane. So where in SDN there will be two separate layers you can see. One is something called data plane, is what the forwarder, they are just like an hardware, a simple hardware which can capable of forwarding of any packet comes. Okay, and we have a control, everything is at the single point, the centralized node to that network, which is called network controller. So this is what you could see to our traditional network, what we have presently, to our next upcoming network, which is through using what is called software defined, okay, which is called as software defined network architectures. Okay, so this is what the thing you should know. So let me go with the next slide. First, this is what the forwarding techniques. There were two forwarding techniques, so which we were using today. So the first one is, instead of using a route method, we use something called next stop method. So quite understanding self here itself. Route method, the each devices, okay, to each destination, where the each device in a network should have a complete route to the destination. Let us say this is a routing table of my router, okay, or R1, let us say. To reach host B, actually this is the routing table of the host A. Your host would also keep the routing table, right? This is the routing table of my host A. To reach host B, my destination address is host B, and it should keep the complete route R1, R2, and host B. So this is what it's a complete route how I can reach my host B. Similarly, this will be the routing table of the router R1. So if I check this, so to reach host B, I should send that to R2, and R2 will send that to host B. This is my complete route. How from the point of router I can reach the host B. From the destination host B, it is the route itself, there itself. Okay, even we need not to write it, let us understanding. So we just say that in a host B, the to route to that host B, it's like from R2. From R2, the routing table to reach a host B, it is host B itself, because that is directly connected. Similarly, for from that, this is what you call route method. So this is what used in earlier, and you think of, we thought of, for every destination, if you put the whole routes, it's something large entries in routing table, and as also is cumbersome. So instead of that, we just use something called next stop method. Next stop method, what here defines that from a network the routing table of this, to send host B, I should only send, I should keep that where I should send, which is the my next stop, which is R1. Okay, when that R1 comes, R1 knows what is my next stop to reach host B, which is R2. From R2, who is my next stop, is no next stop, because it is directly connected. And how all these next entries have been updated because of the routing table, because they'll share the routing table, so they would comes to know that where originally that host is connected. So based on that information, it going to decide who was my their next stops. So what is the one thing we used in changed in the forwarding method? Instead of using a route method to keep hold of every destination network and their complete route, we just wanted to put the next stop one. Okay, that is the one change we had. So the next one is, instead of having a routing table with the host specific, we just replace that with network specific. So what you mean by that? Let us say this is your destination. Okay, one kind of network, and how this routing table should be maintained by this R1. Instead of maintaining for every host like A, B, C, D, and the route is R1, I'll just replace this complete host with the network, because we know the starting address will represent this whole network. Instead of having the entry for each host, I'll just have them the route for the complete network. That is what we call network specific. So these two are changes we made, and what we were today we were using, we just write the destination network address, their subnet mask, and the next stop address. This is what we have this forwarding method. Instead of route to next stop and host specifics to network specific. If I ask you to explain about the two forwarding techniques, what we might use today, and you should explain these two techniques by writing their diagrams and giving their differences, what they were. Okay, host specific ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು, next host specific ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಅಂತ you have to write it. Okay, so going with something a default entry, I think you know what is called default routing. Default routing is something, this is a network, okay, where a host is connected to N1, and there is another network which is N2, which is connected to router R1, and the rest of the network is connected to R2. Okay, so whenever I'm updating a routing table of any router, let us say I'm writing a routing table of R2. Okay, I should write this R2 to reach N2. What is my next stop is R1, and any other network, because this IP internet may consist of such kind of networks like remaining networks N3, N4, M6, something like that. I'll just have any kind of network. If they want to send, I'll simply send them where? To an next hop address, which is R2. Okay, which is here. Okay, which is, you can think of this. This would be, I simply write them as R2. So this is what route. When we use this default route from our network to an ISP, probably you might be knowing this is what we use to have a configuration from our network to ISP network. We do something default. Okay. So then we'll look at the forwarding process. Probably we might already discuss this in a classless addressing. We extract the packet, we'll take the destination address, and we search that entry in this routing table. So routing table will be having this four common columns. One is subnet mask address, network address, next hop address, and the interface. The next hop address is what? The next hop to whom I should send this, to that specific destination network. Otherwise, if they are directly connected, then we will have that network interface. Okay. So subnet mask is what? Is the first column in my routing table. This is what my default routing table template. Okay. So we'll look at the classless addressing. We need at least 4 columns in my routing table. Those four columns are this: mask, network address, next hop address, then the interface. Okay. So here there is a simple diagram they given, and they are asking us to write the table. So construct a routing table for R1. So you have to write the routing table of this, because something knowing directly connected, you can write them, right? So how I will write it? I'll write the first the routing table. So what was my default like template of my routing table? It should consisting of 4 columns. One is /n, then the network address, then the next hop address, and there is something called interface. To which interface is if they are directly connected networks. So whenever I am writing this routing table for any given diagram, you should always keep in mind, you should write them from the highest subnet mask to lowest subnet mask. So why? Because, so let us say if I take /24 as my network, which is 256, if you divide them, what you will get? /25. If you divide them into 2 subnets, then you will get /25 and /25. So when you have this information, you should always entry of your routing table should be done from an highest. From either these two, you can write anyone first, then you should write them last here, because these two are the subnet of this. If you write this itself first, what will happen? Probably there might be a mistake. Since this will be subnetted, it will not going to send proper message to whom, because this will be what the subnetted of this. So that is the reason I can give you specifically what it means, why we should write them from an highest to lowest, because in the subnetted, so it will not, if you write them from smallest to highest, there might be a problem of because this would also going to check the routing table sequentially. There might be a chance of because if you see these two, probably this major network ID is going to be one of the major network ID of your subnet. If that's match, probably it's going to send them to a next hop interface. Probably then might not be a next hop interface of that subnet. So that causes improper routing. So that's why whenever you're updating any routing table for a given network, you write them from an highest subnet mask to lowest subnet mask. Out of 4, this network, which is an highest subnet mask will be having, which is /26. You have to write them first. /26. Then what is the sub like network address, which is 180.70.65.195, and the next hop interface is not there because they are the directly connected network, which is I should write the interface name as M2. Okay, the next one, which is having a highest subnet mask out of these 4, that is 25. I should write them as 25 now, /25, and the network address is .128. Okay, and the next hop address is null because they are directly connected, and which interface it is connected, which is M0. I have to write M0. Okay, and what is the next one? I have to write /24 then. So /24, what is my network address is .3, and there is directly connected. Yes, it is directly connected. There will be no next hop. Let us call this as M3. I'll just say the interface is going to be M3. Okay, and the next address is /22. The /22, and my network address is .16.0. And what is the next hop address? Next hop address, there will be no next hop address because they are directly connected to an interface called M1. Okay, and all other network, which is say .200. Okay, so let me say that /26. Okay, .200. Okay, so this is what the address which I assigned to this interface. So this what they given. It's actually one of the IP address from this subnet only, and I assign that here. I just say any network which is /0 and 0.0.0.0, or I can simply say any network. If they want to send, where I should send? I should send them to this interface, which is next hop interface is 80.70.65.200, and the next direct interface is not, because every other networks are connected to an internet, and which point at here I should give that entry also in my routing table. Okay, for any all such different networks, I should send them where from this router to this interface. So that is what /0, 0.0.0.0. Next hop address is what 180.70.65.200/26, and they will be not immediately connected because that is connected to where something R2. Okay, this entry I should be there in order to have successful from every network to every other network. Okay, so let me show you that routing table. You can see I have written /26, /25, /24, /22, and their network address. And these are all not having a next hop address because all of them are directly connected. And for any other network, like for any arc, you can write /0, 0.0.0.0. The next hop address is .200, and it is not connected to M2. You can simply say it is null because it is connected to next hop interface. Okay, you can simply write like that, or you can even put the next hop interface as M2, because if you see this network, you can see where it is connected. This is connected at M2. You can write that one also. It's not a problem. Okay, so this is how the routing table would be entered into a network. So with this given network, they will ask you whenever if a packet comes with the destination address. So with the destination address is this, how they're going to process of forwarding. Explain me that how this going to be happened. So 180.70.65.140. You just keep that in mind. 180 dot something 180 dot okay something 70 dot okay 65.140. So when you get this address, so we know that this router will take this address, and first it will take the subnet mask of your first entry, which is /26. If I add this, which /26, what you will get? You will get /128. So network address as .128. But if I check what this will be having, it will be having 65.192. Okay, so there will be no matching of network address. So it will not going to select this. It will go to the next one. If the AND with the subnet mask, take your subnet mask as 25. If the AND, you'll get 128, and my network address is also 128. There will be a match, so that it will send that to where? To an interface called M0. Okay, it's going to send that packets to this network. Okay, similarly, if you take this address, how are we going to check? We'll take the first subnet mask, which is /26, and apply that logical AND with the destination address. They'll get 201.4.22.0, which does not match with the first entry because it has something 180 dot. If I take second one also, it will not match with that because the network address is different. If I take third one, there will be a match, and it will going to send them which interface at the third interface, which is M3. Okay, like that they will do. And if they got something, an address which is not at all present in that topology network, something you should assume this is an any other network. Okay, 118.24.32.78, and we are assuming probably that might be in the rest of the internet, and this router should send to where? To this interface, where this router will know to send that to an network, how they are connected to this router. Okay, so that is what this description says. It's going to send them to an M2 because that will be something might be placed in the else in the network. Okay, in the internet. So this is what the next point is, address aggregation. So address aggregation, so we also call this as supernetting. Okay, so probably you might be remembered. I told you that I will explain this later classes. What is called supernetting? Supernetting is a process of aggregating or adding a small networks to a big network. So then you can ask, sir, why we do subnetting, like when a large network will be divided into small networks and we'll assigning them. And again, why we need to add them and make them one supernet address. Okay, the reason is, okay, so we can see we divide them and we assign them to different subnetworks. Okay, and if you see what should be my routing table entry of my local network, where that network, the router is connected to all subnets, this should be like this, like slash 26 slash 26 slash 26 slash 26, and you should have one default entry. Okay, what do you think this same addresser should also be maintained by this? No, where if you all these entries would also maintained by this, and think of this would be an outside the router, means somewhere in the network, whether this network router should also keep the entry of each of the subnet, not required. So what in that time it will do, instead of having all these four subnet entries, it will just replace with one entry, which is called supernet network and the supernet id. Okay, so this process, and whenever you're aggregating some networks, okay, so it should also follow some three criterias. Okay, so how we discuss classless criterias, like your first IP address are continuous, the size of the network should be 2 power n, and the first address should be divisible by uh, the starting like size of the network. So here what actually I'm telling here, where we have all the subnets are connected to router, where this router will need to keep distinct entry for each of the subnet, but this should not be maintained by every others, because they know, like many networks to this whole large network, if they forms a supernet network, it will send that here, where this router will know to which interface I specifically send, which that packet belongs to which subnet. Okay, so this process at address aggregation, we call them as summarization. So where your routing protocols will have a default behavior of called summarization. Probably we'll be seeing this in later the protocols like OSPF, and probably you might even you might be seeing that whenever I configuring RIP, I'll default given no auto summarization. What you mean by no auto summarization means they should not do this address aggregation process. So that is what the meaning of that command. So if you not give that no auto summarization, they defaultly it's gonna summarize this. Means they do auto like supernetting. If this four subnet follows my supernet criteria. What is this criteria? Whenever you forming a supernet block, this addresses should follow how what we discuss in classless. It should also satisfy some criteria. The first criteria here is the IP addresses are continuous. So you can check dot 7, it will goes up to 63. Again, it is 64 will start here, goes to 177 and 128 here it start. It's 192. So this sub blocks should be continuous in form. Okay. So the IP addresses should be continuous. And the next point is each subnet should have a equal size. It should have an equal size. What is the size of this? The 26 means 32 minus 26. You will get the host bits are for 6 bits. So here also 6, here also 6 means each the network size is 2 power 6, 2 power 6, 2 power 6 and 2 power 6. If I add them, what is my total network size? Which is 2 power 10, right? 2 power 10, right? Okay, it's going to be 2 power 10, so which is also something okay, but my each subnet size should be same, equal, 2 power 6, 2 power 6, 2 power 6, 2 power 6. If the last one is 2 power 5, then you cannot form this, you cannot aggregate this address. Okay, so we should have all the sub network should have an equal size. And the last one is, so the starting of the IP address, okay, the starting address of your first subnet should be divisible by the total size of all subnet, which is 2 power 10. How you will check it? You know, easily write them in binary and write them in binary and like the last two are, because the 10 bits I should get, I should check the last least 10 LSB bit. If all of them are 0, the remainder is 0, then I could say that will be evenly divisible. So I will write as it is, like first two octet 140, 24. If I write 7 in decimal, how I will write them? It's going to be 0, 0, 0, 0. And if I write them in binary, it is something 0, 1, 1, 1. Okay. And the last 8 bits were 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Isn't it? So 2 power 6 into 4, how much you'll get? 2 power 8, right? Sorry, there is a mistake. If I add all these things, what you will get? So 2 power 8, I can divide them into two halves, where it will get 2 power 7 and 2 power 7. Okay, and 2 power 7, I can divide them into 2 power 6, 2 power 6, like that, right? I'll get the total size of 2 power 8, right? You can add them here itself. 2 power 6, how much? 2 power 6 is something 64. 64, 64, 128. 128 by 64, 192, and 192 plus 64, it is 256, which is equals to 2 power 8. And if I check whether the last 8 bits were 0, yes, the last 8 bits were 0, means the remainder is 0. So that this can divide the starting address. So I can apply for these 4 blocks of addresses to form a supernet address and the supernet ID. How you will do this? Let me tell you how the process of how you can do this supernetting. Okay, whenever you're doing a supernetting, so the point here is to write all of them in the binary. Okay, I have to write all these block addresses in binary, the network addresses. So let us say, and you should only write where there is an change, means where you could see there is will be a changing with the bits in the last octet, right? Otherwise, all the 3 octets are fixed, right? 140 is fixed, 24 is fixed, 7 is fixed. I just want to write them. Let me write them as it is 140, because as you're writing, I just want to know what is my fixed part and what is my variable part. Okay, where actually is varying? It's varying at the 4th octet and the 3rd octet and the 4th octet. Let me write them as it is, like 24. And if I write them as 7, how you'll get? Like it is 0, 0, 0, 0, and 0, 1, 1, 1, 1. And all these 4 bits were, the 8 bits were 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, so there is again one more 0. Okay, 8 zeros. If I write the second one binary, what you will get? It is 0, 0, 0, 0, then 0, 1, 1, 1, 1. Sorry, only 3 ones. Sorry, this one is cancelled. This one is also cancelled. Okay, and 620, what is 64? You should write them as 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, and if you write this one, it is same 7, but what is how I can write 128 is 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, the next one, this is also 7. It is something fixed, and where is varying in the last octet, which is 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. If I check here, I could see something were fixed and variable. How many bits were fixed here? 140 is fixed for all the four addresses, and even 24 was fixed, and even 7 is also fixed for all these 4. But where you could see the variable part, if in a bit level, if I check, the variable start at the here itself. Okay, at the last octet, you can see here it is all 8 bits are zeros. Here it is 1, 0. If these two are fixed, something I could say, if this all of them are 0, then I could say the first bit was also fixed, right? And we could see the variable in the next 7 bits. Okay, so how I will write here is, so the fixed part, the fixed part is this one. If I write and draw a line, this 3 octets are fixed, and where I can see the variable in the last octet. Okay, I'll just write as it is my fixed part, which is 140 24.7, and wherever the variable part I have, I'll write all those bits as 0. So this is what your supernet ID. Or you can see whenever all these 4 subnets, which can form since ADR, like supernetting, doing a supernet criteria, always the first address, which is that is divisible by size of the network itself, is been the supernet ID. How you gonna find the supernet mask? Okay, how many bits were there? Means there is the variable part in my supernet ID is 8 bits. That 32 minus 8, what the value will get, which is 24, that is going to be your supernet address. Or how you can do here is something to find the supernet ID. That is the one part, like finding out how many bits are variable bits. So count them, the number of bits, like here it is 8 bit. Minus that with 32, you'll get the what is my network bit, which is 24 bits. Okay, that is your supernet ID. So instead of having this 4 entries, okay, for each of the subnet, I would have replaced that with /24 is my supernet ID, and the starting address is always my supernet address, major network address. Okay, instead of having all these entries in this routing table, which is somewhere in the network, I would have replaced all these 4 with one entry, and that is what done by this router itself. Before they're going to populate this network information to a neighbor, it's going to do something called summarization. Summarization means address aggregation. Do add all these things. So how you divide it from this address, to all subnet, will give that address to the neighbor, so that you have this. Whenever if any packet comes to this network, you send them to me. From here, I will know what is my outgoing interest to specific subnet address. So this is what you call supernetting. Supernetting is a process of adding a smaller networks to an and making that one bigger large network. Okay, so that is about supernetting. You can see they given so this is what they're saying here. Longest mask should match first. So what is means of, so whenever we have this network addresses like subnets and this one entries, after you knowing how to enter this routing table, why I should write them from longest subnet mask to smallest subnet mask? Okay, so for that reason they are written here. Okay, you can check here /26 /26 /26. If you would have the smallest in the top, okay, which is 0, so you're not going to check for the subsequent. Okay, you can see if you put that to an or in the top, it's not going to check the subsequent. It simply forward them at M1. But actually that network is connected like M0, but is actually that network is connected where at the M1. So that is the problem. Okay, that's why we always write them. Then updating of routing table should be from a longest subnet mask to a smallest subnet mask. Okay, that is what this diagram is explained about. Okay, so this is what address aggregation example, like how we do address like hierarchy or routing of ISP. Okay, you can think of this is going to be your ISP. They have total 16,800 something. They divide them and give 1,000, 4,000 here, 4,000 here, 4,000 here, and a 4,000 here. Again, from there they will divide 512, 512 like that. From the, again they will divide them to two addresses, like only two addresses, like because /30. Again, they divide them into different block addresses. This is what hierarchical routing of an ISP. Okay, and this is what my the common the routing table. Okay, default routing table. If I ask to write the template of a routing table of a router, should write them from base like subnet mask, network address, next hop address. Then there is something called interface. Along with this, I gonna have an additional 3 columns, which is flag and reference count, and there is something called use. So these three gives an additional information about that route entries in my routing table. Flag is tells uh, something. We have different flags. Okay, so probably I will gonna explain them in the next class itself. Okay, you can see here. So let us take an example. This is what the routing table of my host. Okay, what is my kept, and I told you what the command you should check to routing table of your router. It is, sorry, your host is something netstat-rn. So there is something called flags, u flag, ug flag, where u flag here it tells. So there is an information understanding what is called u. G flag, the last entry as the flag is G, which means the destination cannot reach through this router. So G is something defines You cannot reach the destination through this router, which is not a default router, where U flag defines the term gateway used by Unix synchronous with this router. Okay, probably U flag tells it's an immediate host which is connected to the default router. And if you have a G, it is not immediately connected. It's something it has to be go with the next stop router as well. That is what about flag defines whether it is connected directly or it is not connected directly. There is reference count. It's something count of the hop counts, how many like hops that we're having for each the destination, and the use, whether the route is in use or invalid. It will be marked with this field. Okay, you could come to know whether that entry is in present, whether that is a primary or it is not a secondary. All these things you would come to know with the field of use field. Okay, so this is going to be probably like your host routing table, but most of the time your router's routing table is going to be only this much. Okay, where your system or your host will going to keep the routing table with all additional things like flags, reference count, and use. But router will not going to use this. It will only keep these four columns: mask, network address, next hop address, and the interfaces. Okay, so this is all about your delivery, and this is how we configure them, like configuring of server with an example you can see. So this is simple thing. Okay, simple network of default routing, default router. This is a host having an Ethernet address, IP address, and the subnet mask, and this is how we configure. So the next we will look at from the routing protocol, in that specific with unicast routing protocol, not with multicasting. Only we'll discuss unicasting routing protocol. Okay. I hope what I given is